Hi there, and welcome to Chimp Chat, a podcast aimed at helping you get the very best from your Mailchimp account. Brought to you by those clever chimps at Chimp Answers, a Mailchimp Pro partner. Mailchimp email marketing is just what we do. Thank you for joining us today on Chimp Chat episode 3. If you've never watched us before, then please subscribe to the podcast if you're not aware or want to join us there. And make sure that you bookmark 12:30 UK time every Friday, where we'll be discussing all the great and good that's going on in the world of email marketing and obviously Mailchimp, which is why we're here. If you don't know me already, my name's Robin Adams. I'm the founder of Chimp Answers, a marketing agency with a Mailchimp problem, as I lovingly call it. And joining me again is the delightful Vicky Glass, our Mailchimp Supremo. Today we are talking about deliverability. We're talking about probably one of the most asked questions in the Mailchimp Answers Facebook group. I think it's just above form issues in terms of regular stuff. We regularly see people who are new to Mailchimp or new to email marketing who basically come in the group and go, my emails aren't hitting the inbox, what can I do? So we're going to be talking about some of the myths that there are about deliverability when it comes to email marketing, and then some tips and things that you can take away and use. All right? The reason we're talking about this is because email deliverability is really important. If you don't get your emails into someone's inbox, then almost there's a chance they're not going to see it, and as a consequence, they're not going to actually engage with it, or your email marketing ain't going to work if you don't get it into the inbox. But the problem is that spam is a problem. Spam is a major problem. Recent survey, I was on a deliverability video call a few weeks ago, and someone was saying that 85% of the world's email is spam. So all the people who've got inboxes, they need to have a way of filtering out that spam. Unfortunately, because of the fact that there's so much spam, those filters are quite aggressive. And as a consequence, we end up in a situation having this challenge of how do we get our email, which we think is good and valid, into the inbox and not into the spam or promotional folder. Okay, so, right, to start off with, let's actually dispel some of those myths. So, what's the first myth that you've got, Vicky, that we need to try and dispel?
This is usually about people feedback. So, you get a user contacting you that your email has gone into the spam folder, and then you just assume immediately that all your emails have gone to everyone's spam folder. So just because one person has reached out to say, your email was in my spam, I had to go and dig it out, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's got the same issue. Definitely. So yes, one of the myths is just because a few people or one or two people have said the emails have gone to spam, then that just means immediately that all your emails have gone to everyone's spam inbox.
Yeah, it used to be quite a few years ago, if the spam kind of like filters are like, well, if one's bad, then all bad. But,
yeah.
Gmail and Yahoo and AOL and all the other email providers out there, Hotmail and they're all really clever now. So just because it's gone into one spam folder does not mean that every one of your emails goes to spam folder, because it's almost each email account looks at your emails individually and decides whether your email is deserving of the inbox or not. So when you come into the group and you post, I've had someone tell me my emails are going into their spam folder, that's just them. It's not everybody. All right, so that's the first myth. I'll take the second myth, and again, it's something we see all the time. I've sent a test email to myself and it's gone into my spam folder, so everyone's email is going to go into spam folders. And guess what? It's not true. It's exactly the same reason for the first one. Your Gmail account, or however you test it, is basing whether it goes into the spam folder or not on how you react to your emails. And if you're like me and you send lots of test emails to yourself, chances are you're not going to open and engage with those because they're test emails. And that's one of those big signals that people are looking for, the Gmail inbox providers and all those people. They're looking for those signals that you're engaging with email. So when you send yourself an email, there's a high likelihood that your email is going to go into the spam folder. But this is not about you, and the fact is that your experience is the same as everyone's. It's not. Same as the first reason. So there's another myth that we're going to bust. All right, give me another myth, Vicky.
Another one I hear quite a lot is the Gmail promotional folder. Everyone going, oh, my emails went into promotional folder, and that's a bad thing. In actual fact, it's not a bad thing. That's where it's meant to be. It's a marketing email. And if you're using MailChimp for non-marketing emails, then you probably need to rethink your process. So when you're using MailChimp, you're sending marketing content out there, you're sending marketing emails, and promotional folder, it's where it's meant to be. There are ways to alleviate this, but it's not a bad thing. And I was thinking about this actually the other day. If someone makes a point to go to the folder to check that email, that means they have the time to read your email at that point. So if you send an email at 3 p.m. and the person goes, oh, I don't want to read that, they may not ever open that email. But if they've taken time out to go through that folder, then they have time to read your email, open it, click in it, and do whatever call to action was in there. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we'd all love our emails to go into the inbox, but the promo folder's there for a reason. And again, if your emails are interesting and engaging and valid and relevant, people will look for them and they'll go into the promotional folder and find them. So don't think the promotional folder is a death knell for your email marketing activity. It isn't. Okay? And then one last myth I want to bust before we actually go into some specific tips that you can take away and use from a delivery point of view is, again, something I hear regularly from people. And especially as a MailChimp devotee, I'm kind of like particularly sensitive to this one. And it's the bits when someone comes in and goes, oh, it's all MailChimp's fault. If it wasn't for MailChimp, then my emails would go into people's inboxes. So I'm going to switch to another provider. It's got nothing to do with that. Nothing. It's not. Think about it from MailChimp's point of view. MailChimp exists in the ability to get an email into an inbox. It is going to be doing absolutely everything it can to try and make sure that your emails succeed. And my view is, since that MailChimp is actually the biggest provider of this service, they're going to be putting the most effort behind it. Because if they can't get your emails into an inbox, then what's the point of using any tool like that? All right, so one of the key things that you need to think of, it is not MailChimp's fault. All of these email providers, whether it be MailerLite, Sendinblue, Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, there's a million one out there. They all suffer from the same challenge of the fact that they're sending an email on your behalf. They're going to be doing as much as they can to get into the inbox, but there are obviously things that you can do as well to succeed. So don't blame MailChimp. It's not MailChimp's fault if your emails don't go into the inbox. Yeah?
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Exactly. All right, so how can we actually help MailChimp and obviously help yourself in getting your emails into the inbox? Okay, now, one of the analogies I like to use here is that when it comes to email marketing, I call sending an email marketing, it's like gambling. Because the fact of the matter is that with 85% of the world's emails being spam, those spam filters and promo filters are going to be very hot on trying to make sure that only good emails get into the inbox. And because of that, you can never guarantee an email that you're going to send is going to hit the inbox. But what you can do is you can stack the odds in your favor. Just like gambling, there's no way of guaranteeing a win, but there are things that you can do, tips, skills and techniques that you can use to give yourself the best chance of succeeding. And that's what you need to do. So you need to look at some of these things to make sure that you can stack the odds in your favor. So what's the first thing that you can stack in your favor, Vicky?
Oh, the very first tell all my clients, anyone I take on or advise, is to authenticate your domain. It is one of the first steps you can do. And people look at it and think it's a bit scary, but it's not. The instructions are there for you to follow, and if you can't follow them, then just find someone slightly techie that could do it for you. Contact your web host or your domain host. But the instructions are there. It's very simple. You need to authenticate your domain. You need to tell MailChimp that you are a viable person for sending emails, and it will route it through your domain and just give you a reputation. So yeah, that's the very first thing I tell people to do. Just make sure you're not sending from things like gmail.com or yahoo.com. Use a proper domain that will give you a good reputation and make people think that you're a legit business.
Yeah, couldn't Couldn't agree more. That the authenticate domain is one that always surprises me that people don't automatically do it. And MailChimp don't make a bigger noise of it. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, go into your MailChimp account. On the left-hand bar, click the websites button, and then under there, the yellow bar will expand and you'll see the word domains. Click on domains and it will show you the sending domains that you can use to send emails from MailChimp. All right? And if next to your primary domain, which should not be, as Vicky said, a Gmail or a Yahoo email address, it should be a branded email address. If next to that you see the words verified, that's good, but that's not authenticated. Click the drop-down menu and follow the instructions and get your domain authenticated. It is a great thing to do. Okay, another tip. And this actually comes down to, and a lot of these things are all kind of like relating to this overall tip, because obviously authentication is about making sure the technical side is covered. But you need to remember that engagement is your friend when it comes to your emails. So you want to make sure that people are opening, engaging, clicking, sharing, replying. All of those things are real positive signals that tells your inbox providers, in other words, the people who decide whether your emails go into the spam folder or the inbox, all of those are signals that they can take and go, oh, this person really likes these emails. I'm going to continue putting them in the inbox. All right, so you need to focus on engagement. And the next few tips are all about engagement and getting into the, use how you can use engagement to get into the inbox. So what's one of the things that you can do that obviously is going to get more engagement, Vicky?
I think it's the first email that you send to them. So if you immediately they sign up, it's likely to get open click because they're expecting it. They've just signed up to you or taken up one of your offers, your freebie, your lead magnet, and they're expecting that email to give them that offer or to welcome them or to confirm that they've actually signed up. So that is the first thing you need to do. That's an email they're expecting, and once they open it and they click on it, that sends engagement juice back to MailChimp. And MailChimp will go, oh, this person is actually sending good emails. People want to hear from this person. Well, let's not send them to spam. Let's put them in the inbox. So that's, I think we covered this in our first session, or was it second one?
Second one, yeah. Definitely. You really want to make sure that you're sending that welcome email and you're giving people to doing that first email that you send. And again, what you want to do as well is you want to manage people's expectations. You actually want to make sure that when they're signing up, they know what they're getting. If you don't manage people's expectations when they sign up and say, we're going to send an email to you every week, then, then they're going to be, hang on a minute, I signed up and no one told me I was getting an email every week. So you've got to make sure that you're managing those expectations. So when people sign up, they know what they're getting. And when they know what they're getting, they're more likely to engage with the emails you send, which is a positive signal, as we say. Okay. Another tip, Vicky?
So for this one, I'll think it's about it's about controlling the links that you send in emails. It's about links is what I was trying to say there. Couldn't get the word out. So using links wisely. So don't just, put all sorts of links in your emails to your blog, to your article, to some affiliate link that you want to promote. Limit your links in the emails and don't use link shorteners. So what the link that's in your email should be the link that they're expecting to get. So MailChimp will go, why are you shortening that link? Is it going to lead them to somewhere they don't expect? So you shouldn't surprise people. The link, the text that goes with the link should be obvious to where that link is going. So if you use things like bit.ly to hide it, then people might end up somewhere that they didn't expect. And MailChimp might think, oh, that's what you're trying to do. Put in and don't mask your links. Don't use link shorteners. Let the link be naked, for want of a better word, so that it's obvious where the link is meant to go.
Couldn't agree more. Links are a big signal of what's good and bad. And if you think about it, what are spammers doing? When someone spams, they're sending an email and they want you to click on a link and go somewhere dodgy. Yeah. So if you've got lots of links in your email and some of them are being masked by using bit.lys, well, they're going to go, well, hang on a minute, is this person a real person? Are they a spammer or whatever? So, yeah, brilliant idea. And one last tip that you really want to think of, and we mentioned this last time in the welcome email discussion, try and get people to reply to your emails. Replies are really powerful, and they're a good signal that, that means that your emails are going to get into the inbox. If you haven't got that signal, kind of like the people aren't going to necessarily have future emails hitting boxes. So make sure that you've got that specific thing in your welcome email. Put a welcome email out, but have a reply that asks them a question. They'll reply, and that will give you a bit of extra juice. Okay, and like I said, it's another way of stacking the odds in your favour. And that's the thing with email marketing, and certainly deliverability. You want to make sure that you've got a better chance of hitting every individual person's inbox. And the way that you do that is you can stack the odds in your favour. And the best way to stack the odds is to get people to engage, get people to react, and get people to reply. So all of those things are really, really important. And one last myth I want to talk on before we move on to talk about some of the other things going out there is a myth that I actually believed in. And I've had this debunked recently. And that is the idea that having a load of people on your list is bad and is going to impact your deliverability. So when I say these people, a load of people on the list who aren't opening emails, sorry, I forgot to mention that. We call them zombies here in the business. And saying a lot of zombies is bad. Well, technically speaking, yes, having a load of people on your list who aren't opening emails and therefore are costing you money is not really a good thing. And you obviously want to get rid of them if they're not doing that, because you're just paying for the benefit. But what actually comes from a deliverability point of view, it's only causing you a problem if you're sending these people regular emails. Yeah. So in actual fact, having zombies on your list is not a problem if you don't send them emails. So one thing I'd certainly recommend is looking at something like MailChimp's Preference Center and using groups and giving people the option to decide how they want to engage. And if you find a load of people who are not opening and engaging with your emails, stop sending them so many emails on a frequent basis. Cut them down. So your regular people who are opening and engaging, send them every week or every month. But if they're not, kind of like move them to a quarterly or a half-yearly email, just checking in as it were. That will help your deliverability. Okay? So, one last question, Vicky. If there was one tip that you would give to people to make sure that they improve the chances of getting in the inbox, what would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one. Well, if it was a number one tip, probably go with domain authentication, but that would depend on who I'm giving the tip to.
I think that's
Pardon?
I think that's a general principle. I couldn't agree. It's
the general principle, yes, it would be that. Authenticate your domain.
Definitely. And for me, it's about relevance. Make sure the emails you're sending are relevant. Because if they're relevant, people will open and engage them, and that works really nicely for you. Right, okay. We'll briefly go on to news, and we'll just talk briefly about something that you may have read. We'll be covering this a lot more in later episodes. But recently, Apple have announced a load of developments in their 15 operating system development. And one of the things they're putting is a barrier to track opens. So basically what this means is that people will open an email in an Apple system, email system as it were, and you won't know if they've opened. And obviously we use open to track things like performance, how to test subject lines, bits and pieces. What are your thoughts on this, Vicky?
Well, obviously it's recently been announced, so I've been following this every day and hearing people's thoughts and trying to form my own. And yeah, it's still, I've not settled on anything yet, but I'm not worried. That's my initial thought. I'm not worried about this because open rates was a flawed metric anyway, accurate. So it's not something we should be relying on. We shouldn't be relying on it now anyway. So this just means that people need to start getting better at using different metrics. So your emails need to get better. You need to look at clicks. You need to look at different ways of engaging people. Don't just go by open rates. You need to give people a reason to click on your email, to take action, to reply, to engage with your content. So that's my first thought. I'm not worried. It just means a slight shift. The thing I will miss though is subject line, because people opening your email is a good sign that your subject line is good. So we wouldn't get that hit anymore. You wouldn't know whether that subject line was a flop or a hit. You just have to go by the actual content of your email rather than the subject line, the thing that people see to guide them to open your email.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. You took words out of my mouth there. That's pretty much verbatim what I was going to say, so I don't have to say it. Yeah, I'm aware of it. Yes, there are going to be few things that I miss, as it were, but I think the key thing to remember is that the reason we're sending emails is to get people to take action. which means clicks, which means, convertibility, as it were. So yes, if the open rates are going to become even harder to discern, that's obviously not going to be a good thing from one point of view. But it just means we've got to be better at email. I'm a big proponent of just be better at email. I think that's a massive good piece of advice. Right, we'll bounce on to our question of the week from the Facebook group. I always like to cover off one here. And a question from Guido Tomasino. Basically, he's talking about selling tickets at an event and how they can take payment and how they can make sure that information is to go to MailChimp. Now, this is a big subject, but just a couple of thoughts on this, Vicky. Any thoughts on how to potentially handle this?
I think the first thing you need to do is get people from the QR code to your sign-up form or your landing page. So that's the first thing, and you need to get them to pay. So if you don't want to use Stripe, then you can link out to PayPal or Venmo, like you've said there. You don't have to use Stripe for those. And once they've paid, you need to get them back into MailChimp. So that could be via something like Zapier or any other integration application that you've got. So it's going from QR code to landing page where your form is. They pay from there, get into PayPal, and then from then on, you push them back into MailChimp using something like Zapier.
Yeah. I mean, you can take payments through Square, through MailChimp as well, so that's an option as well. But the idea is that, and I'll say this to everyone, just understand the flow. So someone buys a ticket, so first of all, you've got to take the money. Then you've got to push the information that they give you when they take their money into MailChimp, and that's where you can use a tool like Zapier to push the information from your payment provider through to MailChimp, and then make sure that you've got an email automation or something set up there. Events are something that I'm sure that we will come on again, because it's something that I think as we start getting back to a normal life and people lockdown around the world slowly reduces over time, event marketing is going to be back on the forefront of people's minds. People will want to go out and engage because they've been stuck in for the last year or so. So look out for more information on that. And just a quick note before we wrap up. In MailChimp news, I just saw this morning, and I was very disappointed to see this. MailChimp have actually stopped their updating, and they've removed the MailChimp Subscribe app from the iOS and the Google Android store. And I always loved the MailChimp Subscribe app because it was basically something you could put onto an iPad and it would have in store, or you could have an event, and it would connect up perfectly with MailChimp. So I'm going to see that. Is that something that you've used, Vicky?
No, I haven't used, but I've directed people that have had the need for it to go and check it out. But I haven't heard of that news. So
literally, in fact, I just saw it announced in the MailChimp partner channel that they've archived it. So sorry to see that go. There are other alternatives out there. Jotform has got a very good, what's the word I'm looking for, cold system that you can put onto an iPad that people can use, and you can lock it and integrate it with MailChimp. So if you are using events, get an iPad and get people to fill the iPad in. Don't get them to actually write handwritten stuff down, because to be quite frank, most people's handwriting is atrocious. So you won't be able to read the email address, and the whole thing will be defeated the whole objective. So that's wrapping up today's edition of Chimp Chats. Thanks very much, Vicky, for coming along as ever. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Hopefully. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. And next week, the goal is we're going to focus on how to make an email look good, which obviously is quite prescient, because we've talked about getting an inbox and we've just talked about how you can't track opens. But what do you do to make an email look good? So we've been talking about things that you can do to get tips and advice on making sure that your email looks good and actually converts and gets people to take something. So come back and join us next week, same time, Friday, 12:30 in the Facebook group, MailChimp Answers. We will see you then. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast really helpful, then here's what you can do next to broaden your understanding of MailChimp. You can join our free Facebook group. It's the biggest MailChimp support group in the world. Just search MailChimp Answers on Facebook. You can take our free MailChimp Medical to find out the health of your MailChimp account and what you can do to improve it. Just visit chimpanswers.com and follow the prompts. And of course, you can get in touch with us. If you'd like one-to-one support, advice, tips, or whatever, just visit chimpanswers.com, which also has got one of the largest resources of MailChimp blogs and advice available out there to get the information that you need. Thanks again, and we'll see you very soon.